Hey, what is up, squad? We are back with some more solo leveling season 2 episode 13 cut content. You know, we always do these type of videos, and this is going to be the last one for a while because I heard that season 3 isn't going to be maybe until like 2027 or something. So I assume a lot was kind of cut out in terms of like the level 100 rewards and stuff like that, because I do remember he was in the manhwa, he did get like the key back to the double dungeon. And I'm not sure if that showed in the anime. A lot of people were saying, you know, it showed briefly in the anime when the pop-up screen came up, but I haven't gone back to check. So yeah, we'll see what my boy Annie News has to say. But yeah, if you guys want early and uncut reactions, make sure to check out the Patreon, and let's just get right into it.
It's a bit sad knowing we're not going to get our weekly dose of aura every Saturday now, but
True.
I really can't complain considering the amazing season we got.
True.
From each epic battle down to
It was
the
a god tier
emotional
season
scenes and occasional comedy, this truly was an experience to watch every week. Unfortunately, it is coming to an end, so I just want to say thanks for allowing me to share part of it with you.
Okay.
I really enjoyed seeing how much you all loved learning more about the story.
Yeah.
Now, the finale
Bro did a
does
really good
rearrange
job.
things quite a bit, and there's actually enough cut content to make 2 videos. So
Okay.
while the anime might be done for now, you can at least experience a bit more solo leveling through one more video of mine.
Okay.
It's some novel exclusive content wrapping up Jeju Island with an aftermath that's surprisingly emotional. Today we'll focus on the left out details from the
I don't know,
scenes
the
we
anime
did
didn't
see,
feel
then
too
next
emotional
week
for
we'll
the
finish
funeral.
off the season with that. So for now, here's exactly how Sung saved Cha, how he cheesed his way to level 100 while solo clearing the island, then how he set himself up to get poached by every country in the world.
Okay.
It's everything the anime left out from the manhwa and novel. But first, if you're looking to add some of that Sungjinu aura to your room or office, now you can 100 different anime off, covering chapters 104 to 110 from the
104,
manhwa
110,
and chapters
okay.
121 to 133 from the novel.
Okay.
Let's start things off immediately post-fight with Beru, where Sung had just gained 2 levels from beating him, and his next priority after was to save the hunter dying in front of him. As much as he wanted to celebrate, there was no time to do so since Cha's vitality was quickly deteriorating.
Yep.
Now, there was no scene where he tried to use the elixir of life to save her, but
Okay,
what
yeah.
he did do was consider every potential.
Because the elixir of life was only for illnesses, and I remember in the manhwa they only used it for. Didn't he use it on what's his name called again? Jiwoo's dad or Ji? I always forget his name, bro. The D rank is a buddy's dad, right?
Option available to him. He thought of teleporting with Cha or flying her out on Kaisel, but both were options that would take too long.
Yep.
He even considered trying to find a healer from another guild,
And that was
but
cut
the
out.
odds of finding one skilled enough was very unlikely. This then led to the solution we saw in the anime, which at the moment Sung wasn't even sure would work. First, he had asked the cameraman to turn off his camera,
And that
which,
was cut,
unlike
right?
in the anime, had a bit more deliberation to it.
Yeah, it was
Reason
like
being that, for the cameraman, this wasn't a decision he could make just like that. I mean, yes, Sung was his savior and he felt indebted to him, but to turn off the camera was the equivalent of turning the feed off to every citizen in the entire country.
Yep.
So, knowing what would be lost if he did, the cameraman hesitated in a way that was very much apparent. It's for
Okay.
that reason Sung took the choice out of it and proceeded with the threat we saw in the anime. It's not like he wanted to scare the guy, but with time running out, there really wasn't any other choice here.
that's fair. He didn't want to show his
A
power,
major
right?
difference that makes this scene a lot more grim is that in the novel, Min's body had to be recovered by sifting through piles of ant corpses. There
I
were so many
see.
littered around everywhere that recovering it wouldn't have been possible if not for Sung's highly attuned perception.
Okay.
In fact, when Sung was able to pinpoint where exactly it was underneath all the ants, only Beck understood just how amazing that was. Since the magic energy emission between humans and monsters was so minutely different, Sung's
Alright.
ability to distinguish Min's lingering aura should have been impossible, especially since it was actively
I
dissipating.
love how the manhwa still gives like the really you know, like the lingering aura, like death aura, like saying that even though he's dead, he's still exuding this pressure, you know? I like the fact that the manhwa does that. It's something we never saw in the anime though.
Lingering aura should have been impossible, especially since it was actively dissipating. The fact he was able to see it regardless though, well, that was a feat not even Beck's Eyes of the Beast could pull off. Sung's perception was now more refined than Beck's specialized traits specifically intended for jobs like these.
Damn.
In any case, Min's mangled body wasn't a sight a close friend like Beck wanted to look at, but he knew deep down he had to witness what was gonna happen next.
Yep.
Sung naturally had extraction on his mind the moment the news of Min's death was confirmed, but pursuing it was never something he actually wanted. You see, he refused to turn an innocent soul into one of his undead soldiers.
That is fair.
It didn't matter how powerful that person was. Defiling a hero in that manner was a level Sung knew he'd never stoop to.
True.
This, however, was a dire situation, so if he could entrust the life of Cha to the best healer in the entire country, then that was a decision he needn't think twice about.
That makes sense.
Had the call been up to Min himself, then Sung knew he would have done the same as well.
You know what I wish he did? Fucking went and fucking revived the S rank. Oh, but did they get eaten? It was just the heads that got eaten, right? By Beru. So I was just wondering. If he had those bodies, man, like he could get like literally 10 S ranks, bro.
So it's here another major difference from the anime occurs, since in the novel Min's extraction failed once, while in the manhwa it actually failed twice. The manhwa explained this as Min's soul being strongly opposed to becoming a shadow, which was a point of morality contrasted by Iron's confusion.
That is fair.
The novel gives a reason I personally think makes a bit more sense, since with the difference in power being the key determining factor of shadow extraction's success, the idea that a soul could oppose it kind of comes out of nowhere.
Alright.
How then does the novel explain it? Well, instead it chalks it up to a lack of motivation. Sung wasn't fully invested in turning Min into a shadow, so at the time of extraction, it didn't work. He didn't want Min's shadow the same way he wanted the others, so it was that lack of determination that affected his success here.
I see that.
It was when he focused up for the second attempt that's when extraction worked just fine. So while
that
this
was
quite
cut out.
different from Sung saying he heard Min's voice telling him to use his powers, I suppose that version aligns better with the well-rounded character they're trying to make Sung be. In any case, it was when everyone saw what it was Sung was capable of that Sung would simply nod yes or no to their many questions.
Because if I remember correctly, what they did cut out the part where when Sun Jin-woo first came, right? He actually used a rise on the ants, right? And I'm pretty sure that his power already got leaked, so it's like,
He saw zero need to explain anything more himself, but he also didn't see a reason to lie either. In a way, this transparency was like a load lifted off his shoulders. For the first time, this was a public place where he could just be himself. Of course, everyone else would form their own impressions anyway, each in awe and fear at what they were seeing. Beck, however, was privy to one more bit of information the others weren't, and that was that Sung could grow stronger.
Yeah.
So if this was the power he was showing now, then Beck couldn't even begin to imagine how much stronger he would get later. The cameraman now understood why it was Sung wanted the cameras off, since if this was how scared the top hunters in the country looked, then one could only imagine how much more terrifying such a revelation would be to a normal person. In the novel, Sung would dismiss Min's shadow without being asked, while in the manhwa, Beck's plea almost came off as begging. It was a very heartfelt request for the person who was once his close friend. This brings us now to the post-raid cleanup, where Sung would go on this whole extra side mission. With
side mission of cleaning up all the ants, right?
Here towards the shadow soldiers, they were effectively running to anywhere that wasn't here. So Sung would first accompany the hunters to the helicopter,
which he didn't do in the anime, right?
Before takeoff, then stay behind to clear the island in its entirety. As insane as it was to do so, Beck could only smirk knowing you need a monster to fight monsters. So Sung would start hunting ants in the slowest way imaginable, riding on Kaiso's back while using dagger throw to eliminate them one by one. He was being extremely diligent also he could reach level 100. Since he hadn't opened any gates for the foreseeable future, Sung knew this would be his only chance to gain XP for a while. He did consider the lucky instance of a potential dungeon break, but that was something Sung realized he probably shouldn't hope for. With the dungeon break being a direct result of one or more raid teams failing, to consider them a good thing was insensitive to those who died for it to happen.
That is true.
The other reason he was farming XP was because he wanted to make sure he was the highest level possible before trying to extract Beru. Failing Min's reminded him of the dreadful feeling that came when extracting Baraka, so in order to give himself the best chances possible, Sung decided he would raise his levels first by any means necessary.
So this is really different,
the island would eventually lead him to the place where the Japanese hunters were killed, revealing multiple bodies filled with extremely powerful magical energy. A more familiar energy would be sensed nearby, but no matter how hard Sung looked, he couldn't find the source's body anywhere.
Okay.
Eventually, he'd realized that there was no body left. With only pools of blood emanating this magic, Sung could tell Goto had been devoured completely. Not a single trace of him was left to try and perform an extraction on. We don't know if that's actually what he wanted to do here, but he did find the death of Japan's strongest utterly meaningless.
Damn.
Fast forward to when every ant on the island was dead, and Sung would feel disappointed since he hadn't yet leveled up to 100. He would reluctantly proceed into the tunnel to extract Beru regardless, only to pick up on the presence of other monsters. What he sensed was the countless eggs within the nursery.
And then he destroyed them all?
Magic signals exhibiting almost fully matured ants within.
Okay.
What happened next was by definition a spawn-killing XP farm, but with every single ant possessing these evolutionary wings, Sung knew he had gotten here just in time. Had these ants hatched and joined the ranks of the Ant Queen's army, then the assault on Japan and Korea would have been devastating.
That would have been difficult,
The subsequent extermination was pretty much the same, but a quick note to note about the Demon King's longsword is that Sung couldn't replicate the same stun effect that the Demon King used. It seems that was an ability specific to him. But anyway,
makes sense.
In the end, Sung would reach level 100 from these eggs. His next order of business was to extract Beru, and since he knew from Min concentration played a role in its success, Sung gave himself a moment to focus. It was when the darkness fully enveloped him that not a single thing could be perceived from within it. If there was even a single trace of light, then with his high perception, Sung would have been able to detect something. With not even that allowed though, Sung could literally see nothing. He was truly cut off from everything around him. What came after was a jump scare that frightened even him, since the moment the darkness had lapsed, there Beru was standing right in front of him. Sung didn't get to see how
really
his shadow
different.
came to be, but there it was, making him think he somehow came back to life.
Bro, the Mama panel is amazing,
that Sung almost lashed out on reflex. This is a bit more tame compared to the anime, so I think I appreciate the epic highlight they gave Beru here more. In any case,
that is fair.
It was right as Sung was about to summon the queen next that's when Beru would start talking. Sung would then ask how it was he was able to do so, and Beru would respond simply with, he always could. It was an answer that made Sung assume he was referring to how he could speak before, but that contradicted with the shadows of Iron, Tusk, and Min. That being the case, the only conclusion left was that this had to do with Beru's rank. If the general rank was what made him capable of speaking, then Sung assumed his other shadows would eventually get to start talking too. It was yet another reason to keep leveling them up. Now, if you're wondering how Beru's name came to be, well, Sung knew it wouldn't make sense to call him ant or insect, so he instead thought back to a book he read. The title of it was The Ants, and the author went by the name Bernard Weber. If you pronounce Bernard the way it is in Korean, then that's how you get the long-form version of the name Beru is named after. It was after that Sung would extract the shadow of the queen, which, while also as strong as the general rank, went to weaken Sung's own bond with his existing ants.
And then he released it.
When Sung asked Beru why this was happening, he explained it was because the queen's inherent power directly conflicted with his own. You see, she had an innate command over the ants that went to trump Sung's. So long as she was alive, any orders Sung wanted to give to the ants would unfortunately have to go through her first. It was a tedious thought that ultimately led him to dismiss her. The other reason was how incredibly weak she was compared to back when she was alive, which Beru explained was a product of her losing her physical body. Since most of her magic energy was used for reproduction, the fact she was no longer capable of it meant she lost all the magic energy required to make it happen. The queen was never a monster suited for the battlefield, and her status as a shadow pretty much confirmed that. In the meantime,
her ability was more like producing
collecting mana stones, but
stuff.
with those intended as compensation for victims and funds for Jeju Island's reconstruction, Sung had ordered them to be left behind. He felt it wrong to keep any for himself. Plus, with Beru's pitch black shard seeming valuable all on its own, Sung figured that was more than enough compensation. In the end, he would be left with that and a total of 570 out of 570 shadows stored. So, that's pretty much it for the raid in the novel, but in the manhwa, Beru would still proceed to help with cleanup off the island.
Okay.
He would reveal the ants could no longer fight together, making them this disorganized
I love the
force
differences,
akin to
man.
pests.
Very different, huh?
Sung's request after wouldn't just be to thin out their numbers, it was actually to take out all of them. And while yes, Beru did help the best he could, the complete subjugation effort ended up lasting 2 days total.
2 days?
The ranks of all 5 major guilds were spread across the coast, catching any ants they possibly could. The ants
Makes
were,
sense.
as we saw, also off the coast
Also
of
went to China,
who,
yeah.
due to their unpredictable arrival, had left the defense force awake for 2 days straight. It's here we meet the national level hunter Goto always said he was equal to, followed by a clear display of why he was not.
Damn.
For the Korean team that left before Sung, by the time they arrived back home, Chairman Go was right there waiting for him. The last thing he heard was of Cha's dire status, so immediately he found 2 A-rank healers and had them waiting on standby.
Okay.
What those healers found was absolutely nothing, so in the end their efforts weren't needed at all. As
Makes
far as
sense.
they could tell, whoever healed her before them had left her spotless. It was for a brief moment that Cha would then wake up here, only to ask the simple question, did Sung show up?
Yep.
You see, she clearly recognized that Sung's scent was on her and, as a result, wanted to confirm whether what she felt while unconscious was a dream or not. As soon as the team confirmed that it was Sung who saved her, Cha would immediately fall back to sleep again.
And then she
This
goes
brings us
embarrassed
now
and
to
stuff
the
like that, right?
aftermath
All the
with Japan, where
love
the
stuff,
loss
right?
of 10 S ranks left Matsumoto spiraling. Remember, all 20 were sent to Jeju Island in the novel and only half returned after. Had the Korean hunters been killed alongside their own, then there was a chance the situation could have been salvaged. It's
Damn.
because they weren't, though, that what was happening now could only be described as a disaster.
Emperor got
Now the
fucking
only
outed,
thing
right?
Matsumoto could think about was the conversation he had before the raid. Goto had expressed a potential hiccup requiring modifications to the plan, but that was advice Matsumoto decided to ignore. That being the case, now he couldn't help but ask himself why he chose to do that. I mean, Goto was the one who understood the power of hunters best, so to dismiss his first ever assessment that a Korean hunter was incredible, well, that's where Matsumoto knew he messed up. It was arrogance that went to cost him dearly.
That
If
is
they
fair,
had just
man.
analyzed Sung's powers properly beforehand, then he and Japan would have just
I don't know,
cooperated in good faith.
Because his information was pretty much hidden. Like, legit. Like, all they know is he's a mage type, right? But as for the specifics, it's not really well known, right?
From the get-go. It pained him to know this whole thing could have been avoided entirely. So, that's when Matsumoto would determine one single way to salvage this, and that was to recruit Sung himself. If there was any person who could revitalize the
work.
Japanese Hunter Association, Matsumoto knew it was him. He just needed to figure out the best way to do so. It's after this that we get into quite a bit of side stuff regarding the Americans, but that's
Is that for next
content
season?
we'll for sure be seeing in Season 3.
Yeah, next
If
season.
we skip past all that, next we'll find quite a bit of novel-exclusive scenes wrapping up Jeju
Novel
Island and its
exclusive? Okay.
aftermath. It's all the loose ends tied up nicely, ending things on an emotional note I personally didn't expect myself.
Really?
To continue on
I don't
past
know. I feel like the anime didn't feel very emotional for that funeral part. I don't know. I feel like there were some scenes that were missing, no?
even that. Now we have the operation on Jeju Island with the Knights Guild.
Ah, yes.
This was actually a mission to retrieve Min's body since it was too hectic to extract with it during the raid. Now that Sung had cleared all the ants though, the chairman ordered an immediate recovery of it. It was a mission
Makes
Jong-soo
sense.
readily volunteered for since with his guild being the only top 5 one not to participate in the raid, this was his only chance to save their diminishing reputation. It's
Sure.
here in the manhwa Jong-soo decides to give his life story, speaking of how before becoming a hunter he was an incredible athlete. His entire life he trained to go to the Olympics, then literally the day before
Yep.
he awakened as a hunter. This
Damn,
put his
that
goal
kinda
out of
sucks.
reach forever, leaving that last obstacle never to be overcome. This, however, wasn't enough to make Jong-soo give up, since now he was set on making the best guild in Korea. It was a goal he was still pretty far away from, but in a funny scene here, he felt that with these mana crystals he might be able to. It was just a
Okay.
joke about embezzling funds from the government. Now, there were numerous military soldiers present as well, and in the novel that made for quite the tense situation. Reason being that they knew if a monster showed up, they were effectively helpless.
Yeah,
It's
there
for
was a
that
lot
reason
less,
they
huh?
couldn't take it easy the same way Jong-soo and his hunters did. So, it was the closer this recovery team got to the tunnel that the more bodies
The
of
more
ants
they
would
got
start
knocked
to
out,
notice. eventually they would start to see literal mountains, each of which spoke volumes to Sung's power. As hunters who partook in the previous raid, they knew how difficult it was to kill just one of these ants. So one could only wonder how Sung managed to kill all of these solo. Now,
I mean, they saw it on TV.
The person showing up here was so unexpected was because news of the island's clearing should have been top secret. There was a chance certain enterprises would swoop in to claim these magic crystals given the opportunity, so Chairman Go took measures to prevent that. This led the soldiers to take the lead here, since with this person seemingly not a monster or anything related to the raid, the decision on what to do with him fell on them. Their orders were to take control of the situation on the island, so this mysterious person was part of that. It's for that reason Jong-soo would stand aside and let the soldiers do their job, resulting in a tense standoff where neither side could do anything. The mysterious person clearly didn't understand any of the orders the soldiers were giving him, and the soldiers weren't so relaxed as to not open fire. It was once this mysterious person started speaking, though, that two terrifying revelations were made one after the other. The first was that this wasn't a recognizable language from any country on Earth, and the second was that it was a monster. It was the moment such a fact was made clear that a single shot was fired from one of the soldiers. The way it bounced off his head confirmed this wasn't a human, and that was when everyone present knew they were in trouble. Anime Craven here was actually about to make a move himself, up until the elf stepped in first. The ensuing conversation was just as vague as we saw in the anime, leaving not much else to be said aside from this. The beast guy wasn't referring to the smell in general here, he was actually talking about the ants specifically. Whatever woman he believed was going to get triggered by it, he was referring to the sight of the mangled ant corpses, not just some terrible stench. Anime Craven also believed the elf leaving to be cowardice, so that changes the context behind how we perceived their presence here. It makes it seem like the elf was avoiding something. The beast guy wanted to take care of whoever them was, but that was something the elf seemed far too cautious to. But yeah, that's pretty much it for everything on the island, so I think here's a good
what about the dungeon break?
The rest of the scenes off-island become a bit convoluted, since there's a lot of back and forth with Sung, the Association, America, and the funeral. All the scenes with America will be in Season 3, but everything else
so just switched orders,
left out. So expect all that in the video next week. I do hope that you enjoyed this one, and if you did, then leave a like.
Was there nothing about the dungeon?
Also, a big thanks again to Displate for sponsoring this video. The quality of their...
Alright. Fire video. Really good video. I like that. Definitely a lot of differences, I guess. A lot of stuff cut too, which was a little bit surprising. I thought there was more to the funeral, if I remember correctly. I don't remember it specifically, but I thought there was like more of the families grieving and stuff like that. Because they didn't really show too much of that, right? They kind of just like panned over the crowd a bit, and then a little bit of crying, and then Sun Jin-woo. I thought for sure there was a little bit more than that, but I guess not. But yeah, this was pretty interesting. I don't remember the shooting bullet, but I wish they actually kind of showed that a bit to show, you know, he was a bit irritated, so that would have been pretty sick. But dude, I love the Beast King's design, dude, right? It just looks amazing. Also, yeah, it makes sense, like all this stuff happening here. Bro, the marble panels are just clean, dude. Just like, I like the dark blue color from like, I see that dark blue. Wait, where is it? Like the anime is like this lightish blue, but I like the color of the manhwa, man. It does this really cool, like, I guess, multiple blue colors, and it shines really well. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that reaction. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, comment down below what you guys think. Like, what did you guys wish Ashley did made it into the anime but didn't? Just let me know down below, and I'll catch you guys next time. Laters.